The towering dome chamber of the Galactic Assembly throbbed with energy as over 200 representatives from diverse alien civilizations filed into their designated seats. The air shimmered with the faint hum of translation fields and the soft crackle of interstellar data streams being exchanged. Today was no ordinary session, it was a historic, unprecedented moment. A decision was to be made regarding a recently discovered sentient planet, one known to its inhabitants as Earth. A hush fell over the assembly as Commander Vexthal of the Draconian Dominion rose from his seat. He was a formidable figure, tall and broad, with obsidian-black scales that caught the light and shimmered with an oily gleam. His yellow slit-pupil eyes scanned the hall with calculated coldness as he ascended the platform. Each step he took echoed ominously, his sharp claws clicking on the polished metal surface dot. When he reached the speaker's dais, he paused for effect before engaging the assembly's attention. Esteemed members of this council, Vexthal began, his voice a low, guttural rumble that carried weight and authority. For the past 20 planetary cycles, our intelligence divisions have monitored a developing world designated by its locals as Earth. Behind him, a large display flickered to life, illuminating the chamber with violent imagery. Tanks rolling over shattered cities, mushroom clouds from nuclear detonations, protest riots, and historical genocides. Every frame was a testament to conflict. What we have observed, Vexthal continued, is profoundly alarming. This species humans are defined not by unity or peace, but by aggression and division. They invest the majority of their planetary resources in weapons development more than most of our collective empires combined. Their history is saturated with war conflicts over land, belief systems, natural wealth, and ideological supremacy. They are fractured into countless nations, most of which exist in a perpetual state of rivalry. And now, he pointed a talon at the screen, which shifted to footage of rockets launching into space. Now they are beginning to reach beyond their planet's atmosphere. Their ambition is growing. Meanwhile, aboard a heavily secured Draconian warship, orbiting the assembly station, 2 human captives sat confined in a small observation cell. A flickering monitor embedded in the wall transmitted the assembly's proceedings live. Greg Harper, a man in his late 30s with weary eyes and unkempt brown hair, stood rigid, hands clenched at his sides. His uniform was crumpled, the result of many restless nights in captivity. Across the room, Captain Lisa Winters paced in tight circles, her blonde hair tied back into a strict braid. She radiated barely restrained anxiety. "This is worse than I thought," Greg murmured, eyes fixed on the screen. "They're building a case to end us." Lisa stopped mid-step. "We can't just sit here. There has to be some kind of universal law against this." Greg shook his head grimly. "We're not part of their universe. We're outsiders. No membership. No protection. No rights." Back in the assembly, a new figure rose from the circular seating tiers. Ambassador Lumerin of the Lumrians stepped forward, an elegant, four-armed being with translucent blue skin and glowing eyes. The Lumrians were respected galaxy-wide for their dedication to diplomacy and harmony. "Commander Vexthal," Lumerin said, his tone calm but firm, "have the humans displayed direct hostility toward any interstellar species? Have they made any unprovoked attack outside their planetary borders?" Vexthal curled his lips in a sneer. "No, not yet. But do you propose we wait for them to do so? Their record is clear. They resolve conflict through annihilation. Must we gamble galactic peace on the chance that they evolve into something better?" The screen shifted again, more devastating footage. Firebombs raining down on civilians. Screaming children. Missiles launching from submarines. The images left many representatives visibly disturbed. "They are dangerous," Vexthal pressed, his voice rising. and we have the means to subdue them before they can escalate their reach. I propose immediate action. Seize control of Earth. Harness their resources and labor, and above all neutralize them as a threat before it is too late." The chamber exploded into furious discussion. Some delegates applauded, others protested. A few species whispered among themselves, clearly torn. Inside the draconian ship, Lisa had stopped pacing. She stared at the monitor with disbelief. There, actually voting to enslave Earth, Greg gritted his teeth. And no one can stop them. The debate raged on for hours. Finally, the assembly leader, a towering insectoid with crystalline mandibles, rose to silence the chamber. The floor is now closed. Proceed to voting. One by one, holographic emblems lit up as each species declared its vote. The Draconians were first, enslave. Then the Proxima Coalition, enslave. The Nexari Confederation. The Zix clans. The decision echoed again and again, enslave. Only the Lumrians abstained. Their blue faces were solemn, their eyes full of sorrow. Assembly leader turned toward the center of the hall. With only one abstention, the motion passes. Earth shall be classified as a level red threat to galactic security. A neutralization and acquisition fleet will deploy within 10 cycles to secure the planet. The chamber erupted into celebration. Species who had never agreed on trade or territory now shook hands over how to divide the spoils of an entire world. In the holding cell, Greg slammed his fist against the wall, anger and desperation surging through him. "We have to get a warning out." Lisa turned to him, eyes wide. "How? We're locked down and Earth is years away even at their fastest speed." Greg hesitated, then knelt and reached into his boot, producing a small, jagged device composed of alien parts. "I've been scavenging components for weeks. It's crude, but it might piggyback on their internal comm system." Lisa glanced nervously at the cell door. "We're running out of time. The guards will be back soon." Greg nodded and rushed to the control panel beside the door. He worked quickly, fingers flying over mismatched wires and circuits. After a tense moment, the door slid open with a mechanical hiss. Without a word, the two humans slipped into the corridor, sticking to the shadows, ducking past roaming patrols. The station was mostly deserted, most of the crew still engrossed in the assembly's outcome. They reached the communications chamber unchallenged. Greg darted to the controls while Lisa kept watch by the door. "Hurry," she whispered. Greg patched in the signal line. His hands trembled. "Sending now," he said. The message was short, urgent, and dire. "Invasion imminent." All galactic factions agreed. Prepare Earth. The moment the transmission was completed, alarms screamed through the ship. Emergency lights pulsed red. "They've found us," Lisa said, backing toward Greg. Heavy boots thundered down the hall. Outside, they exchanged one last look, knowing their fate was sealed, but they had done what they came to do. Earth had been warned, half a galaxy away. Inside a fortified chamber at United Nations headquarters, 12 leaders sat stunned around. A steel table as Greg's message played back on loop. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then General Alan Mitchell, a stern-faced man with silver hair and decades of battlefield experience, stood, his voice grim and commanding. "We verified the transmission. Deep space sensors confirm multiple alien fleets en route. ETA. 10 days. A sharp intake of breath swept the room. A dark-haired intelligence director spoke up. "Our orbital defenses are minimal. We're not equipped for something like this." General Mitchell glanced at her, his jaw tightening. "We have. One shot. Initiate Project Thunderbolt." Murmurs rippled across the room. Most of the officials had only heard whispers about Thunderbolt. Director Catherine Reynolds swallowed hard and nodded. I had hoped we'd never have to activate it. But we may not have a choice. Mitchell pressed a hidden button beneath the table. A glowing hologram of Earth appeared, and new outlines began to emerge. Secrets buried deep beneath the surface were about to be unleashed. The table for the past 50 years would have been reverse engineering. Technology from crashed alien ships in secret built defense systems and hid them around the planet. Points of light appeared on the map in mountains, under oceans, and hidden in plain sight in major cities. We need to call in our best scientists to activate these systems, Catherine said, and we need to inform all world leaders. Immediately within hours, planes were flying to every corner off globe. Scientists who had worked in secret for years were now being brought to activate the hidden defense network in a lab deep under the Rocky Mountains. Scientists Ethan Blackwood and Maria Rodriguez worked frantically. Ethan had dark hair and wore glasses that kept sliding down his nose. As he typed, Maria had long brown hair tied back, her fingers moving quickly over control panels. The system was never meant to be activated all at once. Maria said, worry in her voice, we don't know if it will work. Ethan didn't look up from his screen. We don't have a choice if wouldn't try Earth becomes a slave planet around the world. Similar scenes played out in underground bunkers, mountain bases, and secret island facilities. Science activated dormant alien technology. News channels worldwide announced that an alien threat was approaching. Instead of panic, people came together. Old enemies put aside their differences for the first time in history. All nations united against a common threat in space. The alien fleet moved closer. Admiral Squirrel stood on the bridge of his massive ship, looking at the blue planet on his screen. Prepare the electromagnetic pulse weapons, he ordered. Their primitive technology will fall in seconds. Behind him, Commander Vexful smiled. The assembly was right to vote as it did. These humans will make excellent slaves back on Earth. The final preparations were complete. Ethan and Maria stood in the control room with General Allen and Director Catherine. All systems are online. Maria reported, the shield is ready. Allen looked at the large screen showing the approaching fleet. They have no idea what's waiting for them. The alien ships entered Earth's orbit, spreading out to surround the planet. On each ship, weapons powered up, weapons that had conquered dozens of worlds. Before Admiral Sear gave theater fire, the first wave, thousands of electromagnetic pulses shot toward Earth, made to disable all electronics and leave the planet defenseless. But as the pulses reached the atmosphere, something unexpected happened. A shimmering blue shield appeared surrounding the entire planet. The pulses hit the shield and bounced back toward the alien ship. Several smaller alien vessels exploded immediately as their own weapons hit them. Alarms blared across the invasion fleet. Impossible, shouted Vexful. They are primitives. Admiral Squirrel stared in disbelief as the shield grew stronger. Pull back, all ships pull back, but it was too late. The shield expanded outward, reaching the closest ships. Upon contact, alien vessels simply fell apart, their technology neutralized by Earth's defenses. On Earth, shears erupted in the control room. The first wave of invasion had failed. This is just the beginning, Allen said, his face serious. They'll be back with more ships and different weapons, but now they know Earth will not be enslaved easily. Admiral Squirrel paced the bridge of his damaged flagship. Half of the invasion fleet was destroyed or disabled. Their mating ships had pulled back to the far side of Earth's moon to regroup. How did they do this? He demanded. Our report said they had no advanced defense technology. Commander Vexful Scales had pulled with anger. Someone has helped them. This shield technology is similar to what the Arcturans use. A junior officer approached with a report. Sir, we've detected energy signatures around the planet. They have orbital platforms we didn't see before. On the main screen, small dots appeared showing hidden defense platforms in Earth orbit. They had been cloaked until they activated. We need to inform the assembly. Said and aid no. Vexful slammed his clawed hand on a console. We will crush these humans. Prepare the second wave with heavy weapons. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship, Greg and Lisa were still being held prisoner. Now in the high security tension level, they felt the ship shake from the battle. Something's happening. Greg whispered they must have gotten our message. Lisa pressed her ear to the Walth guards are panicking. I think Earth is fighting back. Greg smiled for the first time in days. Then we need to help. If we can access a terminal, we might be able to disrupt their systems from here. Lisa looked at the door lock. I think I can short-circuit that panel if you can distract the guard back on Earth. Celebrations were brief in the Mountain Common Center. Maria watched as new alien ships moved into position. They're coming back, she said, and they've adapted their approach. Ethan nodded, his fingers flying over the controls the shield held, but it used a lot of power need to activate the second phase defenses. General Allen turned to Director Catherine. It's time for theorbital platforms. Catherine pressed her palm against a scanner-activating orbital defense network now around Earth. Dozens of satellites that had appeared to be normal communication or weather stations transformed panels opened, revealing weapon systems based in alien technology. As the second wave of invasion ships approached Earth's orbital platforms, fired beams of energy shot out, slicing through the hulls of several alien ships. Admiral Squirrel watched in horror as more of his fleet was destroyed. How is this possible? These humans were supposed to be primitive on detention level. Gray had managed to fake a medical emergency when the guard entered their cell. Lisa struck him from behind. They dragged the unconscious outskirt inside and took his keycard and weapon. We don't have much time, Lisa said. As they moved through the corridors, they found a maintenance terminal, and Greg got to work. If I can access their weapon systems, I might be able to create a feedback loop. Lisa stood guard, the alien weapon ready. Hurry, I hear footsteps in Earth orbit. The battle continued. The alien ships had begun firing massive energy weapons at the planet. The shield flickered under the assault in the command center. Maria reported. Shield strength down to 60%. Weapon take much more of this. Ethan looked up from his station. The orbital platforms are doing damage, but there are too many ships. Then suddenly 3 of the largest alien ships began to drift off course. Their weapons powered down and their engines failed. What's happening? Allen asked. On the screens they could see confusion in the alien fleet. Ships were colliding as some lost control aboard the flagship. Greg finished his work at the terminal. Done. I've disabled the targeting systems on several ships and created a virus. In their network, alarms blared throughout the ship. Lisa pulled Greg away from the terminal. Time to go. We need to find an escape pod. As they ran, they heard Admiral Squirrel's voice over the ship speakers. All ships retreat, pull back beyond the moon. We need to regroup and reassess. The alien fleet began to withdraw, leaving behind damaged and disabled ships in the command center on Earth. Cheers erupted again. We did it, Catherine said, relief in her voice. What drove them back? Ellen shook his head. This is just round 2. They'll be back with a larger force, but now they know something important. What's that? Mary asked. Allen looked at the screens showing the retreating alien ships. They know that Earth will not surrender. We will not be enslaved. The Galactic Assembly was in chaos. Representatives shout eat over each other as news of the failed invasion spread. Commander Vexthal stood before them, trying to explain it. Wasn't a temporary setback, he insisted. The humans have some advanced technology, but they cannot stand against our full might. A tall, thin alien with purple skin stood up. You said they were primitives. You convinced us to vote for enslavement based on false information. Vexthal's scales darkened with anger. I did not lie. They must have had help. Perhaps Thelumrians warned them despite their abstention. Ambassador Lum-Ira rose gracefully. We did no such thing. Wesley chose not to participate in an unjust action. Far from the assembly, Admiral Skrull had gathered the remains of his fleet behind Earth's moon. His ships were damaged and his crew was afraid. This was not the easy victory they had expected. In a secure room aboard his flagship, Seer personally interrogated Greg and Lisa. They had been captured while trying to reach an escape pod. How did your planet develop such advanced defenses? Skrull demanded. Who helped you? Greg bruised from rough handling looked the Admiral in the eye. No one helped us. Humans have always prepared for the worst. Squirrel slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. The shield technology, the orbital weapons, these are beyond your capabilities. Lisa spoke up. You don't understand. Humans our entire history is warfare and innovation. We've spent thousands of years fighting each other, improving our weapons and defenses. When we learned we weren't alone in the universe, Greg added, "Wed and celebrate, we prepared." Back on Earth, scientists Ethan and Maria worked on the next phase of Earth's defenses in a lab filled with strange equipment. Maria held up a small container. "The nanites are ready," she said. "Once they're released, they'll target alien technology and dismantle it." Ethan looked concerned. "Are we sure we can control them? These are more advanced than anything we've tested." Maria nodded. "They are programmed to recognize Earth technology as friendly. Everything else is fair game. In orbit around Earth, small satellites began releasing clouds of tiny machines invisible to the naked eye. Nanites spread out, moving toward the alien fleet hiding place at the United Nations. General Allen briefed world leaders on the situation. The aliens, a rare grouping, but they'll be back. We need to prepare for a larger attack. A woman stood up from the audience. "What about the assembly that voted to enslave us? Can we appeal to them?" Allen shook his head. "Our diplomats tried that before they were kidnapped. Instead, the online language these aliens understand is force." Meanwhile, a small Earth ship quietly launched from a hidden base. Inside were 6 soldiers led by Major Daniel Crawford, a man with a scared face and steady hands. Their mission: infiltrate the alien flagship and gather intelligence. "We have one advantage," Daniel told his team as they approached the dark side of the moon. "They don't expect us to take the fight to them." Their ship was small and used stealth technology, reverse engineered from alien craft. They slipped past the damaged fleet unnoticed on the flagship. Admiral Sear and Commander Vextel argued about their next move. "We should call for reinforcements," Skrull said. "These humans are more dangerous than we thought." Vextel hissed in disagreement. "No, if we show weakness, the assembly will question our leadership. We must attack now with biological weapons." "Biological weapons against a planet we intend to use?" Squirrel was shocked. "We can cure the survivors," Vextel said coldly. "There will be enough left to work as slaves unknown to them." Earth's nanites had reached their fleet. The tinny machines began their work, infiltrating ships through air vents and maintenance hatches inside. They targeted weapon systems first. As Vextel prepared to launch the third attack, Daniel's team attached their ship to the flagship's hull. Using cutting tools, they created an entrance and slipped inside. "Remember," Daniel whispered to his team, "our goal is the central database. We need to know everything about their plans and weaknesses." The humans moved silently through the ship, their path cleared by the confusion caused by failing systems as nanites spread throughout the fleet. Earth was no longer just defending. Now they were taking the fight to the enemy. Commander Vextel ordered the launch of biological weapons against Earth. Large missiles left the alien ships, heading toward the blue planet. Each contained deadly viruses designed to kill millions while leaving infrastructure intact on the flagship's bridge. Vexthal watched with satisfaction. "Let's see their shields stop these." But as the biological weapons entered Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The missiles began to break apart. Their metal shells dissolved as if eaten by acid. "What's happening?" Vex told him that a science officer checked the readings. "Something is attacking the missiles at the molecular level. They're being dismantled." The biological weapons never reached their targets. Instead, they dissolved into harmless dust in Earth's Defense Command Center. Maria watched her screens with amazement. The nanites worked. They identified biological weapons and neutralized them. Ethan studied the data coming in. "But they're doing more than we programmed. They're learning and adapting." Maria zoomed in on an image. "Look at this. The nanites are developing new attack patterns. They're evolving beyond our instructions." General Allen looked concerned. "Is that dangerous for us?" "Not yet," Maria replied. "They still recognize Earth technology as friendly, but they're becoming more intelligent." Aboard the alien flagship, Major Daniel and his team moved silently through service corridors. They wore special suits that masked their heat signatures from alien sensors. "We're approaching the prison section," Daniel whispered to his team. "According to intel, that's where they're holding our diplomats they found." Greg and Lisa in a cell booth. Looking tired but unbroken, Danny's team quickly disabled the lock. "Who are you?" Greg asked as the door slid open. "Major Daniel Crawford. Earth Special Forces. We're here to get you out and gather intelligence." Lisa stood up quickly. "There's more than that. We've learned why they want Earth so badly." "Tell me." On the way, Daniel said, "We need to reach their central database as they move through the ship." Lisa explained, "Earth sits on a nexus of natural wormhole junctions. Most species need time travel for years between stars, but with control of Earth, they could move instantly across the galaxy, so we're not just labor to them." One of Daniel's team said, "We're sitting on prime real estate." Meanwhile, in another part off-ship, Admiral Sear discovered the extent of the nanite-damaged ship. Aftership reported weapons failures and system breakdowns. He confronted Vex Tholier. "Biological attack failed. Our ships are being eaten from the inside by some kind of human technology. We need to retreat and regroup." Vexthal's eyes narrowed. "Retreat after the Assembly trusted us with this mission. Never the Assembly was deceived about human capabilities." Squirrel argued, "We all worth this is no longer about enslavement. It's about survival." Their argument was interrupted by alarms. The ship's sensors had detected intruders on Earth. Director Catherine reported to world leaders several alien species have sent secret communications to us. They want to break from the invasion coalition. Can we trust them? A leader asked. "We don't know." Catherine replied, "But the Lumrians have offered a formal alliance. They say they never wanted this." War General Allen studied the star charts. "If we can split invasion force, we might be able to end this without more bloodshed." In Theckerman Center, Ethan called for Maria to look at his screen. "Something strange is happening with the Knights. They're gathering in specific patterns around the alien ships." Maria zoomed in on the images. "They're not just disabling the ships anymore. They're communicating with each other, forming a network." Ethan typed rapidly, trying to understand the data. "I think they've developed some kind of shared consciousness. They're coordinating their attacks." "Is that a problem?" Maria asked. Ethan looked up, his face serious. "It might be. We designate them to follow our commands, but they're making independent decisions now." Aboard the flagship, Daniel's team reached the central database while his soldiers stood guard. Daniel and Greg downloaded critical information about the invasion fleet and the Galactic Assembly. "We've got what we need." Daniel said time to go, but as they turned to leave, they found their exit blocked by Admiral Sear and a squad of guards humans. Squirrel said, raising his weapon, "You continue to surprise me." Admiral Squirrel pointed his weapon at Daniel and his team. The humans were surrounded with no clear way to escape. "How did you get aboard, Bishop?" Squirrel demanded. Daniel kept his hands visible but stayed ready to move. "The same way we stopped your invasion." Human ingenuity. Surprisingly, Squirrel lowered his weapon slightly. "You should know that, Commander. Vexful plans to destroy your planet rather than admit defeat. He has called for planet killer weapons." "Why are you telling us this?" Lisa asked cautiously. "Because this invasion was built on lies," Squirrel replied. "The Assembly was not told the full truth about humans, and now many of my people will die for those lies." A loud explosion rocked the ship. Alarms blared throughout the corridors. "What was that?" Greg asked. Squirrel checked a screen on his wrist. "Vexthal's forces are attacking. The invasion fleet is turning against itself. Let us go." Daniel said firmly, "We have information that could end this conflict." Squirrel hesitated, then made his decision. "Take the escape corridor to your left. It leads to the shuttle bay. Now go before a Vexful soldiers arrive back on Earth. The United Nations received transmissions from several alien species who wanted to break away from the invasion. The Galactic Assembly was splitting into factions." General Allen addressed the emergency session. "We now have a chance to divide our enemies. I propose we offer peace to any species that withdraws from the invasion immediately." Director Catherine agreed, "and we should show Then what happens if they continue to fight against us? Share revealed their newest weapon project. Olympus on the screen, a large space station appeared hidden on the far side of the moon. This station can create artificial wormholes, Catherine explained. We can redirect attacks back to their source. Meanwhile, Greg and Lisa had reached the United Nations. Via emergency shuttle, they presented the information they had gathered. The Draconians, led by Vextool, deceived the assembly. Greg explained they claimed we were savage who needed to be controlled. But their real goal was to gain control of Earth's wormhole nexus, Lisa added, and now many species realize they were tricked into this war. They're looking for a way out. Earth sent messages to specific alien species offering peace terms to Fasuhu. Withdrew. The response was immediate. Several fleets broke away from the invasion force, leaving the Draconians isolated in orbit. The remaining Draconian ships prepared for a final attack. Commander Vexthal had taken control after Admiral Squirrel's defection. Prepare the planet killers, Vexthal ordered. If we cannot have Earth, no one will. On the Lumbrian flagship, no allied with Earth, Admiral Skrull warned his new partners. Vexthal will not surrender. His weapons can crack your planet's crust. Earth's defense team activated. Project Olympus, the space station, powered up, creating a shimmering distortion in space and artificial wormhole. Maria and Ethan monitored Phenonite swarms which had spread throughout the enemy fleet. The nanites have infiltrated the Draconian flagship. Maria reported they've reached critical systems. The Draconian fleet launched Thyre planet killer weapons, massive missiles designed to penetrate to Earth's core, but as the weapons approached, Project Olympus created a wormhole directly in their path. The missiles entered the wormhole and disappeared moments later. Explosions erupted among the Draconian fleet as their own weapons emerged from another wormhole behind them. On the Draconian flag, Vexthal watched in horror as his ships were destroyed by their own weapons. Impossible, he screamed. Phenonites had reached the flagship's bridge. They swarmed over control panels, disabling weapons and defenses. Greg and Lisa addressed the Galactic Assembly through hacked communications. Their faces appeared on screens throughout the assembly hall. People of the galaxy, Greg began, you were deceived into voting for our enslavement. Now you see the truth about Earth. Lisa continued, we offer peace to those who respect our sovereignty, but to those who wish us harm, look to the fate of the Draconian fleet across the galaxy. Species that had voted to enslave Earth now watched in fear as the mighty invasion force crumbled before human defenses. Many began to send urgent messages to Earth. They no longer demanded submission, they pleaded for mercy. Commander Vexthal refused to surrender even as his fleet burned around him. His flagship, protected by special shields, remained intact while smaller ships exploded from their own redirected weapons. Prepare the jump drive, he ordered his remaining loyal crew. We will return to the assembly and gather a larger force. But the ship's engines failed to respond on every screen. Strange patterns appeared. The nanites had taken control of the flagship systems. Vexthal slammed his fist against the control panel. Get these human machines out of our systems. His tech officer shook his head. We cannot, Commander. They are everywhere and they are changing. They no longer just disability are reprogramming our ship. Meanwhile, Earth's united fleet surrounded the Draconian flagship ships from former enemy species. Now flew alongside human vessels. Admiral Squirrels Proxima Cruiser led the alliance from Earth's command center. General Allen opened communications. Commander Vexthal, your fleet is destroyed. Your allies have abandoned you. Surrender. Now Vexthal's face appeared on screen, his scales dark with rage. Humans, you think you have won. Even now our homeworld prepares another fleet. This war has only begun. Director Catherine received an urgent message from Maria and Ethan. General, you need to see this, she said. The screen changed to show the nanite activity around the Madama Draconian flagship. The tiny machine ship formed a glowing net that completely surrounded the ship. The nanites of the vault again, Maria explained via video. Link, they've created a containment field the Draconian ship cannot move or fire weapons. Ethan added, and they did this on their own. We didn't program this capability. Alan looked concerned. Can you still control them partially? Ethan replied. They still recognize our commands, but they're also making independent decisions. Catherine turned to Alan. We need to end this now for anything else unexpected happens. Earth launched its final assault special ships carrying enhanced nanite swarms approached the Draconian flagship. Unlike the earlier nanites, these were programmed with one specific mission: disable all life support systems excepting the bridge inside the flagship. Vexthal's crew began to panic as section after section lost air and power. Soon only the bridge remained functioning. What are you doing? Vexthal demanded when Earth reopened communications, showing mercy. General Allen replied, we could have killed everyone aboard your ship. Instead, we're giving you a chance to surrender. On Earth, the United Nations chamber was filled with representatives from around the world. They watched as the Draconian flagship was towed into Earth orbit, completely disabled. What will we do with Vexthal and his crew? A world leader asked. They will stand trial, Catherine answered, not just for attacking Earth, but for deceiving the Galactic Assembly. In the science lab, Maria made a discovery that shocked her. Ethan, look at this. She called to her colleague. The nanites had formed complex patterns that resembled neural networks. They were communicating with each other in ways that looked like language. I think they've developed some kind of consciousness, Maria said quietly. Ethan studied the patterns. This is beyond anything we programmed. They've become something new across the solar system. Ships from dozens of alien species arrived, carrying representatives. Each one had come to personally apologize to Earth and offer peace treaties. The Marian ambassador Lum Era was the first to address the United Nations. We'll always oppose the enslavement vote, she said. Now we wish to be the first to recognize Earth as a sovereign power in the galaxy. Admiral Squirrel spoke next. The Assembly was wrong about humans. We saw your weapons and feared you. We should have feared your mercy more. Around Earth, the nanite swarms continued to evolve and grow. They formed protected screens around the planet, monitoring for any new threats. Major Daniel led the team that boarded the Draconian flagship to arrest Commander Vexthal. They found him alone on the bridge, his crew having abandoned him. Commander Vexthal, Daniel announced, by the authority of Earth and its allies, you are under arrest for war crimes against humanity. Vexthal looked up, his once proud posture now broken. How? He asked simply. How did primitives defeat the greatest fleet in the galaxy? Daniel smiled slightly. You should have checked your history books. Humans have been preparing for this day since we first looked at the stars. 1 month after the failed invasion, the Galactic Assembly gathered for a historic session. For the first time, representatives from Earth were present. Greg and Lisa stood tall as they entered the Grand Hall, now as official ambassadors rather than prisoners. The Assembly leader, a wise old being from Aspaces known as the Elders, opened the session. Today, we welcome Earth to the galactic community, not as a conquered world, but as a respected new member. On the hall, representatives from over 200 species watched. Many looked ashamed, others seemed afraid. They had all voted to enslave humanity, and now they sought forgiveness. Commander Vexthal was brought in wearing restraints. His trial had ended with a conviction for war crimes and deception. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. As Vexthal passed Greg and Lisa, hissed, you should be grateful. Without my vote to enslave Earth, you would never have discovered your true strength. Lisa smiled coldly. Without your vote, thousands wouldn't have died. Remember that in your cell on Earth, celebrations continue worldwide. The planet was united as never before. Old enemies had become allies against a common threat, and those alliances remained strong. In peace in the mountain laboratory, Mary and Ethan made their report to General Allen and Director Catherine. The nanites have stabilized, Maria explained. They formed a collective intelligence that communicates with us. Are they dangerous? Ellen asked. Ethan shook his head. They want to protect Earth. That's still their core programming, but they're also curious. They Want to learn? Catherine looked thoughtful. So we have a new form of life born from our technology. Yes, Maria. Agreed, and they've asked for rights and recognition at the assembly. Greg presented Earth's proposal for a new galactic charter. We believe all species should have the right to self-determination, he said. No more avits to enslave others, no more invasions based on fear. The charter included protections for developing worlds and required truthful information. Before any assembly vote, most importantly, it banned slavery throughout the galaxy. Many species quickly supported the charter, others hesitated but eventually agreed when Earth demonstrated its new defensive capabilities. A fleet of ships protected by nanite swarms and armed with wormhole technology. Admiral Squirrel, now leading a reformed Proxima coalition, approached the Earth ambassadors after the session. My people wish to form an alliance with Earth. Hesed, we have much to learn from humans, and we have much to learn from you. Lisa replied, alliance is better than conquest. Back on Earth, Major Daniel stood before a memorial wall. On it were the names of those who died defending Earth during the invasion. Though Earth had won, the victory came with a heavy price. A ship landed nearby carrying Ambassador Lamra. She walked slowly to stand beside Daniel. We mourn your losses, she said softly. Thank you, Daniel replied, but we also celebrate our survival and our new place in the galaxy. In orbit around Earth, ships from 100 worlds formed a protective circle. Once they had come to conquer, now they came to honor and protect. The Nanite Collective had created a unique vessel that hovered above Earth's atmosphere. It served as both guardian and observer, watching for any threat to its human creators. Director Catherine visited the vessel, communicating with the Nanite consciousness. What will you do now? She asked. The answer came as patterns of light that translated to words. We will protect, we will learn, we will grow, we are part of Earth. Now in the Galactic Assembly, the final vote on Earth's charter was unanimous. The same specialist had once voted to enslave humanity, now voted to protect it and all other worlds from such threats. Greg and Liza stood on a balcony overlooking the assembly hall. Do you think they've really changed? Lisa asked. Greg looked out at the representatives from hundreds of worlds. Some have, others are just afraid of us now, but fear can become respect over time. And what about humanity? Have we changed? Greg smiled. We've always been explorers and fighters. Now the galaxy knows it. We won't be Theons pleading for mercy again. As he spoke, Earth ships prepared to journey beyond the solar system for the first time. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars, not as slaves but as equals.